We are live. Look at that. How you doing, my friend?
Me?
Yes, you.
I'm
I'm just
doing
ready. Like,
awesome.
see, I'm just talking. I know she's like, come on, dude, get it all the intro. I'm
I'm
gonna do the intro and stuff.
I'm doing awesome.
You
Yeah.
are. Well, you look awesome, and I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
to share you with the world and talk about our journey and some cool things that we have going. Excuse me. For those of you who are joining us, I just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. This is our Second Chance Live series where we're talking about our upcoming book launch, Who Am I After Sports? An Athlete's Roadmap to Discover New Purpose and Live Fulfilled, where I get real and raw about my story, my battle with mental health, transitioning out of sports, and also talk about our transition roadmap, which helps you detach your identity from your activity, find your highest purpose, and build a more fulfilling life. And I believe the abundant life, Spryte, is available to all of us. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. We're creating it. We're totally creating it together. So, hey, I just wanted to ask you because I heard it kind of skipping. I don't know if it was my internet or if that was yours. So, I just wanted to
Yeah,
double
let's see. If you guys hear me
check. Okay.
skipping, let me know in the
Let us
comments.
know.
And
Okay.
sweet, they said looks great
Because it might.
here. Sweet,
Okay.
sweet, sweet.
Okay. Looks
Hey,
good. Great.
Amber Kid.
That's
Hey,
the
Amber.
it's the producer in me. Sorry.
Oh no, you are good. You're always looking out, guys. And so you can already tell it's going to be a fun episode. And I just want to encourage you if you're tuning in today, I'm going to share this bright bundle of joy with you today. We're going to talk about some powerful things, way you can move your life forward, some real hard knocks lesson that we have learned throughout our lifetime. And I'd love for you to click that share button if you're watching on any other platform. If you're on Facebook, you can actually host a watch party and invite some of your friends to join us for this conversation. We're going to talk about some amazing things. So let me introduce my guest as you hit that share button, as you engage. And of course, remember that if you have any questions throughout our live together, just drop them in the chat. Our team will collect them and we'll make sure that we get all your questions answered. So my friend Spryte, I'm going to read your bio, has been an entrepreneur since she was 23. She's only 25 now. Can't you tell? She launched and operated several companies since then, which have helped her earn financial success, recognition, and national awards. Her previous campaigns range from brokering manufacturers' liquidations and book publishing to coaching clients towards wellness and personal transformation and direct selling. At age 31, Sprite received a spiritual bump that knocked her off her pedestal of operating $1 million company and married to divorce, diagnosed with an incurable disease. Incurable, devoid of money, a car, or even a home, and it landed her smack in the heart of Los Angeles as a waitress. Wow. Her destiny tap, as she learned to love it, led her to healing and coaching career where she witnessed angels and miracles show up to support her and her clients. When she had a burning desire to have more time as well as finances and be able to give more of herself, she and her partner became leaders in direct sales industry. From this success, she received not only finances, but the time she needed to devote to giving back. And can I tell you that personally, Sprite, you have been just one of the biggest cheerleaders, supporters of me during the pandemic. And I know it's not by accident that we crossed paths because I needed you. I needed other people with such high optimism and energy to keep me going and flourishing during challenging times. And I am so honored that our friendship is growing daily and that you introduced me to essentials and that you connected with my wife and that our journey is really just beginning. And I'm so excited to share you with the world. So I'm going to let you go ahead and share a little bit about your story that maybe was not in the bio or that you want to zone in a little bit more.
Wow, thank you, Daryl. I feel the same way. I mean, I just want to put a shout out right now to Michelle Patterson because she's who introduced us, the beautiful, bright,
Yes.
amazing Michelle Patterson, and we were just like, when we first met, and there was like this
Yeah.
destiny moment that we knew we were here to really support each other and bring really our passions and our purpose, I believe, and our destinies together to support help a lot of people. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm really honored because this is a really important time. You know, I feel the same way about you and so many others that have come into my life now during this time of the pandemic, because it's really been a game changer for a lot of us, right, around the world. It was a big game changer for me. I was, over the last 3.5 years, producing a conscious media reality TV show on 4 continents. We filmed it over 3.5 years, and we were in pre-production for season 2 and post for season 1, and really moving along with everything. And then COVID hit, and it just stopped. It just halted everything. And while as devastating as that felt, I also really recognized that me, along with the entire world right now, we're being asked to get really clear about how we're aligning, what are we aligning to, and are we on the right path to really bring forward our greatest possibility to create a new world. And not the world pre, it's not about the new normal. Like, I'm not going back to no kind of normal at all. This is about creating the new better, really. And so it's been an amazing time, because I got really reconnected with people from my past that I hadn't been journeying with for a while. And I've also been re-inspired to touch back in to frequency tools and things that I had fallen away from, that I hadn't been really using. So we're kind of bringing this all back together right now. And you and I are embarking on an amazing new journey. I'm all about supporting people to lift their frequency right now. This is, and this is really the journey that you and I are on, and why we connected, because of your work with Second Chance Athletes. And I really know that this time is the time for us to be lifting our frequency. And I do want to talk a little bit more about that. Like, I really want your audience and listeners to understand what that means. Like, what the heck is frequency? Like, what is that? Like, okay, what is it? How do we do it? And all of that. But I just, for those of you that, don't know me, that are watching, I've mostly been known as a global humanitarian for the last 20 years. I've been very honored to work with social entrepreneurs of all different, kinds of, in all different kinds of industries, helping them to transform their lives through the power of service. And where you and I connect on athletes, my very first projects for humanitarian service were focused in the United States to feed 3 million children in 33 days. And I partnered with the NBA Players Association and Feed the Children Salvation Army, and a lot of people around transformation. And we did the single largest food drops in the nation's history. I have a great picture with Shaq O'Neal, who, anyone out there who knows him, I want to get back around with Shaq around what we're doing now, because it's, that was kind of what kicked off my whole humanitarian journey back in 2006. And now we're just working on, really, like, we're raising the roof on being able to pull people together in a really high frequency field and create massive change.
Yeah.
So
I absolutely love it, and love your heart and the results you experience. I wanted to ask you this question because I think a lot of people right now are kind of not. I have two people. There's like the thriving group, and then there's the group that just got knocked off their horse. And you experience that in your life. I mean, you go from running $1 million company to being a divorced waitress. Like, how's that for a different lifestyle? I'd love for you to talk about what was going through your mind during that time, and how were you able to pull yourself out?
Yeah, well, I've been through that a lot, actually, in my life. I'm kind of one of those people that I feel like I am really here to experience what so many people go through, and so that I can be of a great support, having gone through it myself and figuring out how to lift myself up.
What so many people go through, and
I'm hearing an echo.
That was me.
Got it.
I was talking to people on Instagram or I'm engaging with people.
Got it.
They're loving you, so that's good.
So what how the number one thing for me has been connection to spirit. My connection to spirit has gotten me through everything. And I have continued to grow myself in spirit, my walk with Christ, my walk with the angels, my walk with, all the unseen beings, fairies, you name it, I talk to them all. But I really believe that we are spiritual beings first, here experiencing a human life. And so when I get knocked, off of my own pedestal, when I get knocked into a new space in my life, what connects me back to my true purpose is spirit. And actually, that's really what happened during COVID for me, is when everything halted and I needed to create a new path, of finances, income, and opportunity. The first thing I did was pray. And I sat down and I prayed and I meditated, and I was really clear about what I wanted. And I believe that when we pray, our prayers are answered. And I don't want to get too woo-woo and religious on everybody. I'm going to try not to do that. But the bottom line is that science has been showing this truth that spiritualists have said forever, which is ask and you shall receive. And how that happens is in what scientists now know is called the quantum field. And that's where frequency comes in. That frequency, every single thing that's alive is vibrating with a frequency. It's called hertz. And this it actually is creating a field where everything gets created and everything gets manifested. And so when we know that, whether you want to call it the quantum field or whether you want to call it God, I don't really care. It's the power that exists for us to be able to really manifest whatever it is that we are here to do. And we have helpers. So I reach back in. That's what I do. I reach back in and I connect more deeply with spirit when things like that happen. So in this time of COVID, that's what I did. I prayed, and the very next day, I got a phone call, and I knew that phone call was an answer to that prayer.
Wow. I love it. I love it. It's funny how things we think are accidents are really just a product of our thought life, right? Because you talked about manifesting and attracting. And I know that for me, that's still a journey that I'm new to. I'm used to being an athlete, just working hard, grinding. I mean, sitting there and what I'm learning from people like Bob and Jack Canfield and yourself and just our community is like, man, the power of, your thoughts and meditation is so important. And I'd love for you to talk to some people who are just beginning that journey. I love your explanation. You explained it really well. This is why I wanted to bring you on, because I was like, there's no way I can explain it like that, because I am new. But it has been working. And I'm like, whoa, look at the people you start to attract. Look at the things that you think about, you start to bring about. And I'd love for you to just give people some baby steps on how they can get started raising their frequency and just attracting more of the things they want in their life.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, it's really great. So here's the thing. When we're in a place of depression, sadness, grief, uncertainty, lack of clarity, all of those things, that's like, we can feel it, right? That like our emotional state, our body, even, we feel this like a lower sense of being, right? So we can call that frequency, right? And so I want people to know that, I was, for many years, I was an emotional trauma therapist. I was a spiritual mentor for many years. A lot of people don't know that. And I have been reintroduced to the power of frequency really through my friend, Jack Canfield. And he got my listening on something, because I highly respect him. He's a Harvard, psychologist. He's read like almost every book, I think, probably on the planet. He's literally in the Guinness Book of World Records for having sold more books than, except for the Bible. I mean, amazing, brilliant man. And he got my listening again on frequency. And just so that everyone understands, everything alive is vibrating at a frequency. Our human body is vibrating at 68 megahertz, okay? And when you have a positive thought, it raises your megahertz to 78. When you meditate, it raises your thought, your frequency to about 80. Now, I just want to show you what happens when you have a negative thought. So when you have a negative thought, your body, now your frequency goes down to 58. Where flu and colds and viruses can set into the body is when you're now vibrating at that lower level, and even lower, your body is vibrating, like at cancer, it's vibrating at like 47. Okay. What's really fascinating about that is when you're dead, you're still vibrating, you're at 20. So it's not zero.
Wow.
So because everything so we're made of cells, we're made of particles, we're made of molecules, right? And all of that has energy. So even when the body is dead, it's still here. Energy doesn't actually go away. So as we rise up on that scale, meditation, you guys, everyone's learning, we need to meditate. But the truth is, it's really hard for a lot of people to meditate. And right now, it's even harder for some people to meditate, because we've got all this noise. We've got the news, the politics, it's right. Like the uncertainty of the world seems more than it ever has been before. And it's like, meditate? How do I meditate with all of this? Or when I just lost my job, how do I meditate? That's the reality, right? When all this is going on, when I'm in, not feeling good, how do I do that? And so there is something that's called a high frequency tool that you can actually use to support you to lift your frequency. And that's called essential oils. Essential oils it's plant wisdom. It comes from a plant. And from a frequency standpoint, exciting stuff. Essential oils is vibrating. So lavender's vibrating at about 100. Frankincense is vibrating at 147. The highest vibration frequency of anything living known right now to man is rose and rose oil, and it's vibrating at 320. So what happens is when we access an oil, just the smell even of an oil, because everybody knows, just like close your eyes right now in the audience, just close your eyes right now and think about a lemon. Like think about squeezing a lemon, like squeezing a lemon into your mouth. What happens? You're like,
sour.
Right. right, you go like that. So you didn't even have a lemon right in front of you, but you're doing that. That's because of the olfactory nerve. It's the most, that nerve goes right to the limbic part of the brain, which is where all of our limiting thoughts and fear and anxiety and all that stuff is. It goes right past it to the hypothalamus, which is where creativity and solutions happen. So when you're smelling something of a high vibration, it immediately can shift your frequency, and it does. You're experiencing this, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to explain it like that.
I wouldn't have either. I mean, I've been learning, I'll just let your audience know, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a PhD, but I'm learning from people who are.
Yeah.
I'm learning from people who have that. And I'm so excited because I've been able to notice that I'm able to shift my frequency so much faster so that I'm able to much more powerfully experience radical things in meditation. I just told you about something that happened today.
Yeah.
Can I share that with your audience?
Go for it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, you guys, I had the most amazing thing ever in my life happen today, right before this call. Ever. Did I win the lottery? No. Some people might be like, oh, you win the lottery?
I know, right?
It's a different kind of lottery. I think it's the most important kind of lottery. I was in meditation. Daryl and I are in this amazing experience right now called the Abundance Experience for 30 days that we're doing with high frequency players all around the world. You're welcome to come join us still. And Bob Proctor was taking us through meditation. I was in that meditation today, and I was picturing everything great that I was creating in my life. And all of a sudden, right on my shoulder, a hummingbird landed on my shoulder. And I could feel the vibration in my ear and and I was like, and I'm like trying not to move. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was so powerful. And here's what I know. Hummingbirds are a symbol. They're a symbol of the impossible becoming possible. They're a symbol of heralding joy and everything being possible. They're the only animal on the planet or the only bird that can fly up, down, sideways, any ways, and their wings actually create a figure 8. That's how they do that. They're amazing. So they were actually the symbol of when I created my first campaign to feed 3 million children in 33 days back in 2006. That was my symbol because I had one come right up to me when I was told by the universe to feed 3 million children in 33 days. It was like, bam! So that's how they became that. So anyway, I could go on and on. What else do you want to know?
I love it. And I saw someone mention that they have trouble meditating because of kids. And I have 3 daughters, so I totally get it. But I'd love for you just to talk about busyness and still how can people in the busyness and being quarantined with family still get into this habit of meditation and raising their vibration?
Yeah, so I think what's really fantastic is recognizing, first of all, that we have tools and we have help. Right. So this is the most amazing high frequency tool that I have found is these essential oils that we're using from Young Living. And what's really fantastic is that they're for the whole family. So I literally have families that are seeing their kids calming down.
Yeah.
They're right through the use of the oils themselves. They love it. Because the truth is, we as human beings, we want to feel good.
Yeah.
We naturally know, feeling good feels good. We want that. So as far as being busy, first of all, we all are. We're just living in that time where there's so much going on. And so I would say with people who have children, is one, if you can get access to something like what we're using, you reach out to us and let us know, because we can connect you with a way to receive these oils and teach you to use them for the whole family, so that you can create that space for yourself with your kids.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be separate. And the thing is that one, we have to intend. So we need to be clear about what we're wanting. So if having more time and space and peace for meditation, for lifting our frequency, all of that, we need to first intend it.
Yeah.
This is what I'm asking. This is what I'm asking, universe, God. This is what I'm asking. I'm trusting that you are going to bring forward an answer for me, that it's going to support me. And then know, you have to know that an answer is on its way. And it's one of the things you and I are doing together as we're exploring this, Daryl, is really helping people to claim greater ownership of their spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical life. And there are answers here for us. And we just, one, we have to intend to have them, and two, we need to take the action. You know, our friend Jack Canfield talks a lot about that, right?
Yeah.
In his, New York Times bestselling book, Success Principles, the number one success principle is take 100% responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I remember reading that book. It took me so long to read that book. It was so thick, and it was when I first started. But it was actually the first Jack Canfield book I read, because I didn't read Chicken Soup for the Soul first. That was it for me. And then but it was so like practical and timeless. It kind of reminds me of like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders. Like, it's just principles that like they work, right? I love it. I want to get into, diffusing and some of the things that we're sharing, but hold on a second. I don't know why I got but I was going to tell you a quick story about, cause you mentioned kids, and I know you're going to love this story. So I was feeling kind of nauseous this morning. I'm not nauseous now. I'm just like, for some reason, got like a burp or something. But my daughter goes, Daddy, why don't you just use some peppermint? And I was like, what? And she's 6, right? And so I'm like, she's already catching on, right? And then the youngest one watches, we have a whole little bedtime routine with the oils now. So we'll get the lavender in there and the frankincense, and we'll throw a little dream catcher or whatever. And my daughter watches it. So when she wakes up in the morning, she'll come in there, the diffuser's still going, and she'll try to like mix up some oils or something. Like, I'm like, no, leave them alone. This is not the thing to play with. Like, this is not like, this is real stuff. And she's getting ready to make her own little concoction, and I'm like, no, don't waste the oils. So I just think it's cool that they're watching us, and it's already becoming a part of their lifestyle as well. And they're seeing it as natural remedies for things like Daddy's, nauseousness in the car. And this is something that I'm learning at my young age, and they're learning now as kids. So it's just to pass it on to a generation of people that our food's getting worse, and it's so hard to tell which products are actually natural and which ones aren't. So I just thought that was a cool story, to your point about the impact that it can make on children as well. And let me just say this. I love that. Yeah, let me just say this last thing. So I remember, because I think this is important for people to recognize, like if somebody asked me this question, right? They said, Daryl, because I was walking around with my oils, can I just keep them in a little plastic bag, and I tote them around with me? And because it's almost like my body is starting to get to the point where it craves certain oils, right? So I'm like, man, I really wish I had this. So I have to bring like 10 or 15 with me. Don't judge me wherever I go. And someone asked me, do you think that they actually help, or do you think that it's like all in your head, like placebo? And I was like, you know what? I can't really explain it. I just know it works. So I'm not fixing it. I'm not going to change anything. And I just think it's important that we talk ourselves out of stuff that seems unfamiliar to us all the time. Yeah. And from like success and hanging around some of the big players that you're hanging around, is that, being open to try new things is so important to success. I would love for you to just speak to having an open mind and how that enables people to experience the benefits of this. Because now I'm an advocate, obviously, and I experience, the benefits of implementing this into my daily routines and habits. And I want people to experience it as well, and not have to worry about understanding everything.
Yeah, it's so true. We do sometimes keep ourselves away from things. Just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it's not true. And I think that's a really important phrase. And I know you've heard this phrase that the two most dangerous, or the three most dangerous words in anyone's vocabulary is "I know that." Because as soon as you say "I know that," your brain shuts off. And the truth is, our brains are meant for, we're only using 8% or something, the capacity of our brain. And so it is important to stay open. Here's the thing about what you shared with the essential oils that most people don't recognize is that every single pharmaceutical that you have right now sitting in your medicine cabinet at home, every single one is originally created from a plant. Okay, so scientists study how plants work. So plants have the actual, just to let people know, that essential oil is considered the life activation force of the plant. So it is like in our body, our blood is the life activation force of our body. If we didn't have the blood flowing through it with all the nutrients and all of its consciousness, all the organs and everything else wouldn't work. Nothing would work. So it's the blood. So the oil is that of the plant. So a pharmaceutical is originally derived from the power of what plants do naturally. And then science creates a synthetic that mimics nature. Okay, so that's how pharmaceuticals are made. And most of us don't know. We just go get the stuff. We've been told to go get the stuff. Wow. And again, I'm not a scientist, disclaimer here. I'm not a scientist. I'm not saying can heal or cure or whatever for the powers that be out there that might be watching this. But it's important to recognize that. And so we have been, over the last, 1,000 years or so, several hundred years, we've been indoctrinated into a particular type and form of, wellness. I can't even say, healing really, but healing or whatever. And so now it is important to be open right now to learn, because we're seeing that instead of getting better, we're getting sicker in so many ways, right? Things are breaking down. And so there are natural ways to support ourselves, especially when it comes to emotions and, mental and emotional wellness. So many people right now are dealing with grief, depression, anxiety, and they're taking medication for that, right? They're taking Xanax and things like that. And it's not making them feel better in a lot of respects. It's actually having a long-term opposite effect. And we know that this is what's happening. And so it's so important that people are recognizing there are healthy alternatives. And
I so love it. I want to connect some dots for people here, because one of the reasons why I wanted you to talk about this is because it's really a part of the process that I share in my book. I just didn't know about essentials when I wrote it. And I told people on some of the podcasts I've been on that one of the hardest things for me when I was writing the book was actually publishing the darn thing, because it was like every time I got to a place where it's like, okay, send it to publishing now, I was like, well, wait, I just learned something else. I want to squeeze that in there. And then I have to go through the book and rewrite some portions, and because it threw the storyline off. And someone, I don't know who it was, but they were just like, look, you read every single day, you listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos. You're never going to get to this place where you're like, everything I know is in this book, because you're going to learn something new every day. So you just got to cut it off at some point. But the 5 steps of transition to detach our identity from your activity, find your highest purpose, and live more fulfilled. Like, I'm gonna walk you through these steps and tell you how this fits into these steps, and I'm like connecting all these dots. is that like the first step is acceptance, right? So anytime you are in a season of transition, you're going to go through a grieving process. You have to accept that the past is in the past and you can't do anything to change it. You only can learn from it. The second step is to believe. This is about developing the mindset to believe in a better future. You can't achieve a better future if you don't believe in it. You talked about that when meditating, setting your intent out there. The third step is to discover. And this is a series of self-discovery and analysis question, learning more about you, your unique skill set, to figure out like what's unique about you that you can bring into the world for service. The fourth step is persistence. And here we talk about goal setting, going after it, because there is an element of achieving. Like, yeah, you can believe it and have the mindset for it, but you got to put your feet to the ground and go do something. And so we talk about that specifically with athletes. There's some transferable skills that you learn from being in such a competitive environment that can help you be successful in a new industry. And then the fifth step is persistence. And it's all about mental healthy habits. And in there, I talk about fitness. I talk about nutrition, but I cover it from a high level because I was beginning that journey. I was still 30 pounds overweight and at the time of writing it, but I was starting to develop a more healthy lifestyle. And so I want people to see essentials as part of that fifth step, right? Of being like, here's how you persist. If you're not mentally and physically well, you can't bring more of yourself into the world. You can't be the best father. Like the higher your energy, like how many people get off of work and they come home and they're tired and they give their kids no energy. Like imagine just being at high energy all the time. Imagine having more than enough energy to spend with your kids, to write your books, to do the things that you're called and created to do and commissioned to do in this life. This is another tool in your toolbox for that. And I told people it enhances the experience, right? So when I started to journal and meditate, it took the experience to another. Like when I was just meditating with no journal, I was on one level. I had like one level of results. When I added the journal in, now it enhanced the experience. Now I've got the essentials and the journal and the lighting, and it's just like it just keeps getting better and better. And I look forward to that time. And I just want people to experience that. So I wanted to connect the dots for some of our listeners. I want to be able to get into some of the things that you're doing and some of your ideas with bringing men into this fold. We need to see more men just own this process. I would love for you to share that. And I want to pause for a moment just to remind people that if you're watching this and you have a question, drop it in the comments. Our team will collect those. Also, it's not too late to hit the share button. Share with your friends. We're sharing this information for free, and we just ask that you share with others because that is how we all rise together. So I'd love for you to dive into some things that you have in mind.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so awesome. You know, as I'm listening to you, one of the other things that really hits me is around community, right? So you keep talking about, you know, I added this and then I added this and it helped me and it got me to the next level and to the next level. And that's exactly what we're saying here, right? With the essential oils, but there's also another thing, and it's community. It's that so many people feel like I'm alone, or I don't really have, people that are around me talking about this high frequency life, or, people are talking about the news, they're talking about things that are bringing me down, and how can I stay in a high frequency, or how can I stay in a place where I'm feeling good, feeling energy, just using that so that I can keep lifting myself up to a new place. That's part of what we're doing, right? Is creating that space. We're creating this amazing community of people, hundreds and hundreds of people already all around the world, and growing around creating and staying in this high vibe conversation and sharing these stories with each other, and we're doing that through what you're doing here with Second Chance Athletes. And we're doing that through my website at 333life.com, and inviting people to just, and it's free, just come and receive stories, videos, trainings, meditations, things that are of a high frequency, so that you've always got someone and a place you can plug into, and then the other thing I'll say for those people that are listening that are familiar with the human potential movement. One of the founders of the human potential movement, his name was Wayne Dyer. He was like, pretty popular back in the 70s, was like her first book.
He's still popular.
I know, really, I think his first book came out like in the 70s or something. And, but he actually said that these oils, Young Living oils, are like God in little bottles. And it's like, have you ever wanted to just be able to bottle an amazing, like, gosh, I wish I could just feel like that instantly. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people, like, if we can suspend any kind of disbelief around that's possible, it actually is. And you and I are experiencing that. Your kids are experiencing it. People all around the world are experiencing that. And here's what's exciting for me working with you is that we're really creating this new amazing movement, and which I love, which is Real Men Diffuse. And because I think that when it comes to essential oils, it's like, we think it's woo-woo, we think it's girly, it's foo-foo, it's like all that stuff, right? We have all these ideas. And it's one of the reasons that I love that Jack Canfield is the one that introduced me to this, even though I've actually been using the product for actually over 20 years. But I used it to, make my house smell good, or in my bath, whatever, but I wasn't really connecting to its power to be able to utilize it for very specific things, like PTSD, for example. And one of my amazing new friends, her name is Catherine Trustane, and she was a White House correspondent under the Bush administration. She ended up getting severe PTSD through the death of her father, who was a war hero, and she didn't leave her house for 6 years. Wow. And what got her out of her house was a 60-day protocol with essential oils from Young Living in what's called the Freedom Kit. And that Freedom Kit had been co-created with the Veterans Affairs and Young Living to help people with PTSD. And we know that so many people around the world are experiencing PTSD. It's not just veterans. It is athletes. It is those that have suffered any kind of trauma from abuse or lots of different things. And so it's really a time, I'm excited about this time actually, because we're really able to, I think, reach into a greater part of ourselves that instead of closing ourselves off to things that can really help us more and more, because of people like you that are speaking the language, and I speak a certain language, you speak a certain language, and together we're able to come together and speak to a wider audience of people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to insert a little mini Daryl moment here on the Real Men Diffuse thing. I have these moments where I can sense and feel what people are thinking, and even if they're watching from afar. So I got to address something specific. But while I do that, please, Spryte, help remind me after I get done with my little mini rant here that I want to ask you a question about community, because you touched on it, and it's so important, and I want people to get that. So first, on the Real Men Diffuse, here we go. So this is one of the things that I faced in football, because I am, super bright and bubbly, and I'm not like all mad all the time, wanting to bang my head against the locker, and I don't seem like a tough guy. And so it's like people think they can push me around until we actually go head to head, toe to toe, and they realize it ain't that easy. And I'll never forget, I'm not going to drop any names, but I'll never forget being one of my roommates in college, was from an inner city where they were the murder capital, every other year. They were the top Myrtle Capital, right? And he came with this street mentality. He talked the talk. I mean, he looked meaner than anybody you ever met. And he just thought I was just the softest thing because I was always smiling and bubbly and goofy and laughing. And so one day he tried to fight me in our room, and it didn't go well for him. And so and even in the Bible, you know, they talk about like people like David, and I always say like David was a mighty warrior. He was one of the toughest warriors in the Bible. He defeated Goliath. He defeated more giants, and he was a worshiper. Like he had a feminine side, and so all of this like fallacy about like, if I diffuse, it makes me less of a man. It's just so false, right? And all these people, I love it because they try to be so macho, and then they end up having daughters, and those daughters just eat them up. You can't be macho to that daughter. You see them, every guy's got that soft spot. It's okay. So if you're like, man, this ain't for me, that was for women. My wife might want essentials, but not me. I'm just saying, look, man, if this is going to help raise your vibration, your frequency, if this is going to help you live more mentally and well, like, go for it, right? Because a better you is a better everybody who's connected to you. So I love Real Men Diffuse, and I already took my picture and I was smiling with my essentials like this. So
I love it. But can
yes.
we also be like really honest with everybody that is watching? And remember when we first talked about it, you were like, that could, I think my wife will be really interested in that, right? Like my wife, right? So you were like, okay, but you're like, my wife will really be interested in that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool,
Yeah, I know, I did.
And you did, but I think it's important for people to know that, because the truth is we grow up with these societal norms, and the societal norms keep us in boxes. They keep us stuck in boxes.
Yes.
And we've got to, in order to live an abundant, prosperous, life, a life where we really can feel, our greatest potential and be our greatest potential, we have to step out of the box that either we've put ourselves in, we allowed our parents or teachers or coaches or society or media or whatever it is, we've allowed ourselves to be in a box, and we have to claim to get outside of the box. So congratulations to you and to every man who is doing that right now. and then saying, because the truth is, this is plant wisdom. Plant wisdom is not foo-foo. There's nothing foo-foo about it. It's science. Again, that's what all pharmaceutical is based on, is plant wisdom. And so there's nothing foo-foo about it. You did want to talk about community again.
Yes, thank you for reminding. And I actually didn't forget. I'm so proud of myself. But this is a perfect segue, because you mentioned something. You threw me under the bus, but it's fine. It's true. It's authentic. She's so right. So she started, I don't remember. I think Michelle introduced me to you, and that's how I got introduced to the concept. And Michelle talked to me about it, and I love Michelle. And I was like, Michelle, I'm straight. Like, I'm not trying to I get asked for multi-level marketing stuff all the time. I don't want to get roped in another community. She was like, well, even if you don't want the business side of it, like the products themselves is enough. And I was like, that's what they all say. And but I'm like, you know what? I want to support my friend. And I think you were like, something you said made me want to try it too. And I was like, whatever. But I tell you what the real kicker was for me. It was this. Okay. And this is how it connects to community. And I'd love for you to speak to this. And by the way, if you're still listening at this point, like, this might be the most powerful part of what we talk about, community. Because here was the kicker for me. I noticed something that you, Michelle, some of my other friends, when the topic of vibration, frequency, and essentials came up, it was normal conversation. It was accepted. It was a part of what this community is learning, pursuing, doing, experimenting with. Right. Then I talked to some of my other friends who aren't on that frequency or that vibration or that status. I hate the word status in life. Right. And it was like, oh, multi-level marketing. Oh, did you watch this documentary? Oh, and it was just so negative. And then I looked at something. I said, who should I take cues from? The person who's never had this experience and is judging it and criticizing it on the outside looking in, by the way, it's like some commentators that comment on sports. And I'm like, you don't even know. You never even played the game. Like you're talking like it's just, oh, LeBron could have been more tenacious. And I'm like, dude, do you know what it's like to score 40 points in a game and then still have to score the game-winning point? You have no clue. You're a commentator who never played. And so it's people who are on the outside looking in, who are critiquing people. And then the people who are actually experimenting are talking well of it. And I was like, how about I trust the people who actually have tried it like you? And so I would love for you to talk about, because what I've noticed that you helped bring to my awareness during this time is how different our abundance community is from the rest of the world. Like I didn't even think of why, because I'm in like 55 Facebook groups. My wife knows it. She's like, oh my gosh, how many are you in? I'm like, all of them. You know, I love people. But I ignore the majority of them. But I go to the abundance community every day. Like I go to it. Like not I got a notification and then I was like, oh, what's this? But I look for it. And you connected the dots for me. It's because there's no negativity in there. People aren't thinking about all the problems in the world. They're thinking in the realm of abundance. They don't live in a world of just enough, or they live in a world of more than enough. And I get it. And I'm like, that's why I love this community so much. And so if you don't do it for the essentials, which you should, do it for the community. How about having access to brilliant people like Spryte and Lisa Nichols, who just did a phenomenal job, and Joe Dispenza, who's talking this week, and Jack Canfield, who's showing up every week to really help people live the abundant life? How about having those voices speak into your life instead of the same people that you've been around? We're inviting you into community.
I'm so excited that you brought this up because, again, Bob Proctor talks about something at the very, very end of that meditation that we're listening to every day. And that is that we're here to bring love and prosperity and abundance into everybody's life that is open to receive it. Open to receive it. And the truth is that most people are probably listening to what you're doing. They're reading your book. They'll be reading your book. They're connecting with you because they're seeking something else. They're seeking a shift. And so otherwise they wouldn't be attracted to you. They wouldn't be listening to you. And it's the same thing with me. They're seeking that. And so if you're seeking it, remember, you've got to be open in order to receive the incredible gifts that are here. And I agree with you. It is an amazing community to be able to know that at any moment I can step into that powerful conversation that is, I'm going to feel good. Here's the thing. Our thoughts, we've heard this before, our thoughts are creating what we see happen in our world. And if you have people that are listening right now that haven't seen the movie The Secret or hadn't read that book, go watch it again and again. If maybe you watched it and you need to watch it again, but remember that, and this is biblical. Jesus talked about this, right? He talked about ask and you shall receive. And he was one of the very first ones that was trying to keep our thoughts on what we're wanting, something, because if we're thinking about what we don't wanting, we're attracting that. If we're thinking about what we're wanting, we're attracting that. So connect with a community that is really committed to supporting you, to staying in that high frequency space. I mean, I have this conversation all the time. People hold me accountable to my thoughts and my words, and I'm holding my friends and accountable to their thoughts and their words too. Because we have to, in order to create a real shift in our life, we have to create a shift here first. And that is our thoughts, our words,
Yes.
And yeah, so stepping into that loving community,
Yes.
it's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yes. We're going to tell people how they can connect
Yes.
with what we're doing, and we're also going to tell them how they connect with you. I want to leave you guys with this thought. I'll never forget when I was revitalizing a church in Saginaw, Michigan. And I was trying, and I had this vision that we could turn this church, which was struggling at the time and didn't have guests coming in through the doors and had outdated facilities and technology. And I'm like, we're going to change our community. And they were like, okay. And in the congregation would believe, but people who knew of the church didn't. And I remember bringing up so many ideas that would help attract people to that church, and people responding to me about all the things that could go wrong if we did it. Right. Well, what if this happens? Well, what if you don't raise the money for the new sign? Well, what if you purchase something with what's in the bank and you don't have enough visitors who come and give to the church before, or this, and what if, and what if, and what if, what if? And it all fell under the umbrella of what if it didn't work out? And it discouraged me until I changed the thought. And here's the thought that I want you to change. How about instead of asking yourself, what if it doesn't work out? How about asking yourself, what if it does? What if this doesn't work? What if I get it and it doesn't help? But what if it does? Because it does. And that question, that shift will change your life. So instead of thinking about all the things that can go wrong, if you try new things, if you go after your dreams, how about thinking of all the things that will go right when you do? Because when you think about all the things that can go wrong, you'll stay in inaction. You'll be paralyzed by fear. But when you think about what can go right, you'll be inspired to try new things. So with that thought, I'd love for them to know how they can connect with you and what we're doing, Spryte.
I love that so much. And I just also have to say, every single day, I'm getting to have conversations with people that are experiencing those shifts, that were feeling scared and depressed and anxious all the time, and are just going, can this be possible? Like, I'm just not feeling anxious. Like, I'm actually feeling good, or I'm feeling happier. Like, I just feel happy. Is that like, like, it's kind of like, well, how is it possible? You know? So we're having those conversations every day. So just, how they can connect with us. It's like super easy. They can, of course, on Facebook, PM me directly on Facebook. You can also go to a333life.com. 333, by the way, is a high frequency life. I know a lot of your viewers are spiritual and possibly Christians, and that's the number. It's a high frequency number of Christ consciousness, and it is that high frequency life. And so 333life.com. We are going to be creating soon Real Men Diffuse, but we're just getting that movement launched, and we're really looking for more men who are willing to be in this experience with us. And if you want to call it an experiment, that's cool too. We'd have a lot of fun with you in that. An experiment with you. So just fill out the form at a 333 Life and put down second chance athletes, or SCA or Daryl or something like that, so that I know that you came to us from that, and or contact Daryl, either way. So just let us know. And I can still, anybody who's interested in this abundance experience that we've been talking about, it's going to be closed off after tomorrow. So you do still have time today if you want to ping me today and let me know. We can get that, get you involved in that, but we can still get you involved in the community. So please reach out to us, and let's get you frequencied up. Let's frequency up.
Love it. That's our new term.
Frequency up.
Spryte, thank you so much. You are a bundle of joy. I appreciate you. Love you dearly. You're a blessing to the world. You're a gift to my wife and I. And thank you so much for joining our live. And I can't wait to just continue to do more powerful things with you.
Me too. I love you guys. I love you so much, both of you. And yeah, we've got 3 billion lives we're going to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anybody out there listening that wants to be part of something really, really big and amazing and inspiring, that's, Daryl will fill you in more on that later too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
God bless you.
Oh, thank you. And I want to say thank you for everyone who's joining us. Make sure you go over to secondchanceathletes.com and check out all of the amazing guests that we're bringing on. Next week, y'all, I'm going to live on the live stream. I've got like 7 lives scheduled next week. Rodney Kellum will be our first guest of the week for next week. He's a speaker. He does a lot of work. He's a former athlete as well. And he helps me with some addiction recovery, things that we got going here locally in the community. Great. He's going to do a great job just adding a lot of content value. And also, the team doesn't know this, so they probably don't have a slide ready for this. But I felt led to go live tomorrow at 8:15 a.m. And I'm going to talk about the topic of don't quit. So if you are a coach or you're an entrepreneur or you're having a tough time in your marriage and you're kind of on this fence of like, I'm getting ready to throw in the towel. I don't know if I can take another day of struggle, of pressure, of whatever. Join me tomorrow, 8:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be talking on the subject, don't quit. And I'll give you practical tips of how you can use persistence and why you need to hang in there another day. So join me tomorrow, 8:15, and then we'll go live a couple more times after that. First guest is Rodney. Dang, they're on it. What, the team is amazing. Live, 8:15. Thank you. I love our team. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining. Remember to share this. Go to Second Chance Athletes, and I'll see you tomorrow at 8:15 Eastern Standard Time, a.m. All right. Bye-bye.